Hello, and welcome to the We Are Power podcast. If this is your first time here, the We Are Power podcast is the podcast for you, your career, and your life. We release an episode every single Monday with listeners in over 60 countries worldwide, where you'll hear personal life stories, top-notch industry advice, and key leadership insight from amazing role models. As We Are Power is the umbrella brand to Northern Power Women Awards, which celebrates hundreds of female role models and advocates every year. This is where you can hear stories from all of our awards alumni and stay up to date with everything MPW Awards and We Are Power. Well, today I am delighted to be joined by Nicola Gleave, who is the founder of Worn by Us. Tell us about Worn by Us.
So thank you for having me, first of all. But so Worn by Us actually was an idea that came from me being diagnosed with breast cancer 10 years ago. So people ask me, is it something that you'd always planned or wanted to do? And the answer is no. It literally was a light bulb idea that came from a breast cancer diagnosis. So it started by wanting to raise money for breast cancer, but also awareness. I think that was one of the most important things for me, because I was somebody who never thought I'd get breast cancer. There was no history in the family. I was always fit and well. So it came as an idea we started asking celebrities if they would donate clothing items from their wardrobes, which we would sell to raise money for breast cancer charities. And we did that because we thought, well, celebrities attract attention. So if we can create the awareness by maybe a positive thing that you can buy a celebrity's piece of clothing, then, you know, it was creating awareness and support in that way.
Now, I mean, that's fascinating, because you've just received a diagnosis and you must be in bits. And, this wasn't expected. It's not in my family.
Yeah. And
I'm having to deal with that, and I'm having to deal with what's going to lie ahead. Are you? Yeah. How are you now?
Yeah, no, I'm fine now. So I had my treatment. I had a lumpectomy. I had 20 rounds of radiotherapy, and now I was taking tamoxifen, which is a medication, for 10 years. So my breast cancer was estrogen receptive, which means your own estrogen grows it. Yeah, I know. So because at the time, at my age, I hadn't been through the menopause, I still had high levels of estrogen. So tamoxifen kind of is a receptor that stops the estrogen going into your cells, so it can't form or grow cancer. So literally, I was on it for 10 years because I needed to get through a kind of menopause to come off it, so my estrogen was lower. But I literally just stopped it just before Christmas. So it's a positive, but also it felt like my comfort blanket had been taken away from me, because when you feel like, well, that's going to stop that coming back typically. And I know that, I'm at that age where estrogen has dropped and things like that. But for 10 years, I've had a bit of an assurance that, that helped. So it was a great milestone, thinking I don't have to take that medication anymore. But at the same time, equally, it was a worry.
It's like something's missing.
Yeah,
every day or every night when you take that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was strange. I have to be honest. It was really strange. I've got used to it now. But you did think, well, actually, I'm protected. And now I feel unprotected.
It's like you've lost your cape,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But when you got the diagnosis and you're trying to put your life on a hold, on a different direction, wasn't planned. Someone who's probably quite planned, right? You've had big job, big careers. At what point did you go, right, I'm going to deal with that. I'm committing to being well.
Yeah.
But I'm going to commit to this too. That's a lot to split yourself.
Yeah, it is a lot. And actually, the focus and the passion I had kept me going. So actually, it was the most positive thing, that the idea I had for Worn by Us and keeping myself busy with my career and job and everything was the most positive thing ever. So for me, it was a shock, because I'd been for, I think it was their biopsy, and it hadn't really shown up on the first two, but they knew there was, they knew something that that meant they wanted to do another biopsy kind of thing. But for me, I see the positive in things. So because they didn't tell me I had cancer initially, I thought, oh, it's fine, it's a cyst or whatever. So it was a shock. But I think, for a day I went home, for an afternoon I went home, and then the next day I went back and I saw the Macmillan nurse, and I spent a few hours asking every question under the sun that I could possibly think of. That felt like a bit of therapy for me, because I came away and I thought, right, I've asked everything I can think of, pros, cons of everything. It helped me to make a bit of a judgment decision in my head. And from that moment on, my mindset shifted, in a sense that I thought I can sink or I can swim. And my mindset can help which way I go. And so I thought, right, I'm going to use this somehow, turn it on its head and do something positive with it. So the idea for Worn by Us and everything else, it kept me going. It was the motivation to get through it. So I almost saw, like I went for radiotherapy after my operation it was like consecutive 20 days every day. And I just saw it as I was going out to a meeting every day. I'm just going to a meeting and I'm going to come back and I'm going to carry on with things. I'm not saying that's easy or it's possible for everybody, but something came over me and it just gave me the power that drove me on, really.
And you then, well, as part of all this going on, I'm going to become an entrepreneur, and there's no rule book for being an entrepreneur, right? Is that you're suddenly going, right, I've got the idea, I've got the inspiration, whether there be celebrities out there or the network that you've built over years. Yeah. How did you do? Where did you start with it? Because it's not easy, is it?
No, it's not easy. I knew from that moment, from the diagnosis, that I'd worked in kind of entrepreneurship, economic regeneration, business growth. That was my career for many years, for now over 25 years plus.
But receiving a salary is different, right?
It is.
You're like,
it is.
I'm in it and I know it, but now I'm over in this world where, that doesn't come in every month.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, I'd started to do some consultancy work anyway, so I was in that kind of, that mindset and that frame. But you're absolutely right. And I think I thought that I kind of reflected on things. So I reflected on my experience and my career. And, people always say to me, well, you've got a good network of people, a lot of people. And I think, oh, no, I don't. I just, just the way I am kind of thing. So I reflected on all of that. And I thought almost, it might sound strange to say, but I felt as though this has happened for a reason. I know that might sound strange, but that's the way it felt a little bit, as in I can use all my experience, my networks, my relationships to create something positive. And I'd always wanted to create a business, but I didn't know what was it. I didn't have a business idea. And this gave me all of that. So it was a passion, it was a purpose. It gave me drive, it gave me motivation. So it didn't feel like I was being an entrepreneur or anything at that time. It was more about, well, I want to, raise money and awareness. It began there. And obviously as you build confidence, a bit more confidence and skills and experience, it evolved. But you'll know yourself, you can be in business or an entrepreneur for, 5 minutes or 50 years. There's ups and downs on every single day.
It's a roller coaster, right?
It's a complete roller coaster. No 2 days are the same. One day you think you're winning and the next day you think you've totally failed and why am I here kind of thing. And each day is different.
And it sounds as though you've got a great support, your husband Andy.
Yeah.
Was he a bit like, I'm all with you. I think you're a bit mad, but I'm all with you. Was there a bit of that? How did that conversation going?
No, he was all with me. He was completely all with me. And I think he knows that I like to ask a lot of opinions. So like I said, when I went and spoke to the Macmillan for hours, I weigh things up. So I never make an immediate decision on anything, really. I weigh everything up and I ask everybody what they think. And that allows me to bring on board thoughts or suggestions that I might not have thought of, and I like to embrace that, really. And so he knew I'd done that and gone through that process. So he just backs me no matter what. I don't know whether he thinks it's just a quiet life and best thing to do, or whether I think he does truly believe in me. But he knows how driven I am. I have, like I say, I have my moments, but we all do, where you question what you're doing, and sleepless nights, and tears, and everything else. But I just, he's backed me from day one and let me get on with it, really. And not only let me get on with it, has supported me and is now involved, is fully immersed in it all.
And you talk about asking questions, you talk about that's been really important to you, being informed. So being informed about your wellness and your health, and asking every question.
Yeah.
I imagine you turned up at Clatterbridge with the notepad, right?
Yeah. I want to know everything.
So how did you fast track your knowledge on building a business?
Yeah, so again, I think that's because I'm right. So I believe in, and I say this a lot: surround yourself with people who are better than you. I say this all of the time. So I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I hold my hand up and I tell people quite loudly and clearly, I know this, but I don't know that. And so, I'm not precious about wanting to own everything and say, oh, it's all me, and because it's not, it never is. So I kind of just went out there. Initially, didn't know what I wanted. I knew I wanted to do something, and I started to speak to people. What can I do? So actually, it was a guy I went to yoga with who used to work in retail. He used to source, I think, textiles, clothing for big clothing brands around the world, and he said to me, "There's a big momentum in kind of like pre-love fashion, secondhand fashion, things like that." And we talked about it, and I started to talk to a few people, and the idea came about, well, why don't you go and ask us some celebrities for clothes? I didn't know a celebrity, to save my life. I didn't know where to find one. It wasn't my thing. So that for me was a massive dragging myself out of my comfort zone. Because I was scared. I was really nervous. I'm not the type of person just to reach out on social media. Nothing like that. So it was like, where do I start? And it started with Jacqueline Gold. So another contact of mine, again, was being involved in retail, etc. And he invited me to a conference in Leeds. It was a business conference where Jacqueline Gold was speaking. And at the end of the conference, introduced me. And she was the first person who donated a dress. It was a Philip Armstrong gown from her wardrobe that came in the post a few days later. And that was the beginning, really.
and the late Jacqueline Gold, the CBE, she was the founder of Ann Summers, and I worked with her in my my women first days, and such a kind, generous spirit. And it's, I wonder, we talk a lot about mentoring on the podcast, and people will often say, how do I find a mentor, and what it's like, how do I ask, what if they say no?
Yes.
When you asked Jacqueline and she didn't say no, was that the start of actually that's okay? She didn't say no. Yeah. I'm going to try again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was the moment of, I was so nervous, and I can go and chat to people and speak to people and everything because it meant so much to me, and because of who she is, she was very successful, etc. And, I was involved in, I can't remember what it was called, but she used to do on Twitter,
Wow Wednesday.
Wow Wednesday. So I won one of those, actually. I think it was a few years later. So I followed her and everything. So for me, it was like a nerve-wracking moment. And, when you think, well, will they understand me? Will she know what it's all about? People busy, etc. But to say yes was probably because I'd just fallen on the floor. I was just like, wow. She said yes, so that boosted my confidence, really, in thinking this has begun, this has started.
And you've pulled in some other bigger names out there. You've got obviously Colleen Rooney, and is there anyone out there that's gone? I just didn't expect them to say yes. Obviously, Jacqueline was one. Is there anyone else out there you go, I didn't think that would happen? I just tried it.
Yes. So I believe in networks, relationships. So I attended another conference, a business conference in Liverpool, and I met Katie Piper. And again, after the conference, so I got to speak to Katie Piper, Mel C from the Spice Girls. So that was a kind of like somebody knew her PA's mum or something like that, and that's the power of it. That's how I work. It's if you don't know somebody, if you've got a strong network, you know somebody else who does. So it was through several connections. Then, for example, I got to Mel C. I think we got like a T-shirt from Peter Andre as well. We just used different networks to get to some people, and it was fantastic.
And I think you can never underestimate the power of your network. We
No,
always
absolutely.
say, if we don't know, you know a woman or man who can,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
You're going to know. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give to someone out there who's listening, who wants to be brave, but felt like you going,
Yeah.
I'm a bit scared to do this. I'm out my comfort zone. I don't know whether I can. What advice would you say to them?
Yeah, I think, if you believe in it, I think it's possible, So the way I approached it was I just spoke to people who I knew, who I felt comfortable with. I didn't necessarily go asking the direct question, do you know a celebrity? It was more, I told them what I wanted to do, wanted to achieve. And, it naturally came. And that's the thing. I think sometimes, people think, well, I'm not going to ask that person, or I'm not going to go to that event because I won't know anybody. And, even like, for example, like if you're invited to something and you look on a guest list and you think, well, I don't really know them. And you just look at people's job titles or the organisations they're from. You think, oh, well, they're probably not relevant. So is it worth me going? I always say go, because you just don't know who's in the room, and you don't know who their personal or professional connections are as well. And the amount of times I've just gone, you just be yourself, you just have a chat. I've not necessarily gone to anything with any kind of agenda. Just have a chat, people by people, and you have a chat. And the next thing is, I leave the event or the room with so many connections, ideas, contacts that have just come naturally, organically, just by talking to people.
And I think that's what people get scared of networking, not for that reason. I don't think I've got any connection here, but have you got any top tips for that sort of opening a question? Because sometimes, you and I have probably been to many events where we've probably been sometimes the only woman in the room or very few women in the room, and sometimes can be a bit intimidating, but you kind of... Yeah. Any top tips for a chat?
Yeah, I think you just have to have a chat. I think you just have to, and the most difficult thing is turning up. You got to turn up and you got to enter that room. The amount of times people think I'm like really confident, and some people have called me a serial networker. I walk in a room, and if I don't know anybody, I still sometimes hover, by the tea and coffee, take your time pouring a cup of tea, hoping someone might come and just smile or say hello or whatever, because it's scary. And I think you just have to, catch somebody's eye. They'll smile at you, say hello, or, you just have to start a conversation, even like, oh hi, I'm Nicola, who are you, what do you do, whatever. And then what you often find is they feel the same as you. Other people in the room feel the same as you.
I 100% believe we should be teaching networking in schools or education. I feel it's taking away the stigma of the word, because sometimes I think you simplify it by saying it's having a conversation or a chat. Yeah. Talk about them. Yeah. People, sometimes people don't know how to do it. Do you have a best exit conversation from a networking when you think, how do I get onto my...
So I think, I always feel that, and I feel it's the same in meetings or everything else. What's your call to action at the end? And that sounds a little bit maybe professional, whatever, but it's not. It's kind of like in your head, what you want to achieve before you've left that conversation or left that room. I think, exchanging contact details is absolutely important, but even just that's great, can we keep in touch, what's the next step? And it doesn't have to be informal, it can be an informal next step, but just know in your mind that you're not going to walk away and then regret that you didn't obtain what you wanted out of the conversation or that value. And I think just being able to reconnect with somebody afterwards is really important.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Oh, blimey. Oh, gosh. You've thrown me now. I think I'm driven. Yeah. And I'll say driven, but also that just means that if I believe in something, I'll go for it, but you'll still have your ups and downs and doubts and fears and everything else. I'm a people person. That's 2 words though, isn't it? But
it's hyphenated. It's okay.
Okay. So I am a people person. I believe in people. I do love meeting people, even though you might feel scary walking into a room where you don't know anybody. I believe in the power of people and relationships. I think, gosh, I'm also.
You've got your 3.
I've got my 3.
Driven,
there you go.
People,
there you
purpose,
go.
relationship.
That's right. Yeah, the purpose actually. Purpose. Yeah, purpose definitely.
Now, we talked about celebrities that have supported your cause because they believe in you, right?
Yes.
Because I think people believe in a purpose.
Yeah.
How on earth did you end up doing the makeup for Wayne Rooney?
Oh gosh, honestly, I do know, but it was the most bizarre thing that led me to it. So I was a couple of guys I know who used to kind of do like video content for business events and things like that. So they knew me quite well. So I got a phone call one day and they said, we've been asked to film Wayne Rooney for I think he was patron of the NSPCC or something at the time. So it was for a television advert for the NSPCC that was going out at Christmas in the advert gap in the middle of the Royal Variety performance one year. So they were asked to video and they said, we need a makeup artist to come with us. So I said, okay, let me have a think about who I know. And they're like, no. You come and do his makeup because then you can get in front of him. You can tell him about Worn by Us. And then you've got a route to maybe ask for a dress from Colleen. And I was thinking, I cannot do that. I can't do makeup. And they're like, you can. So I tried to get out of it. But they were having none of it because they put my name down because you have to have your name down to it was to go to Carrington, the training field and everything, the security and everything like that. So they put my name down. So I went and bought some items and some makeup items in particular, watched some YouTube videos, practiced on my husband. And then turned up and we had to wait for a couple of hours because at the time they just finished, he was playing for Manchester United, they just finished training and they all had lunch as a team afterwards. So we were sat there for a while, but the lucky thing is his manager was in the room with us while we were his agent was in the room with us. And Colleen's brother also worked with the agency. So he was there for this couple of hours. So we just got chatting. We networked, didn't we? Informally networked. We just got chatting. So they asked me about, doing makeup and things. And I was like, oh yeah. And, I've Worn by Us. So it was through that did Wayne's makeup. He came in, I did his makeup. He appears on national television in the middle of the Royal Variety performance with makeup done by me. And I got to Colleen Rooney, so through her brother. And Colleen donated a dress for Worn by Us. So talk about driven, the lengths you go to. But yeah, that's what happened. And
tell us, was it smoky eye? Where were we at?
Well, I tried to keep it as simple as possible. And it was literally, just like, a bit of powder and things like that. But he had like a dark top on, like a navy blue top. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this powder's going all over his top and everything. But you know what? It was fine. I'm not sure anybody really knew that I wasn't experienced, but now they probably do.
Fake it till you make it. And just finally, what is next? As someone who is driven, who is purposeful, who is passionate about networking through any route, even through skills that you didn't have. Still, I need to speak to your husband about what his makeup looked like, by the way. What's next for you?
Yeah, for me, I really want to grow Worn by Us. So we work with retailers now. We take surplus stock. We sell the wardrobes of people across the country. So it's not just celebrities. We're actually selling the wardrobe of Mel Schilling, who's presenter of Married at First Sight. We're selling the wardrobe of Seema Malhotra from Real Housewives of Cheshire. But we're selling the wardrobes of people right across the country who are not celebrities. So you can buy a really eclectic mix of styles, colours, sizes, brands through Worn by Us. And we have a shop in Birkenhead and we're online. But for me, it's about taking that to the next stage, taking that to its utmost potential. And of course, I do that with the people I have around me and continuous networking.
I love it. Get online, get your frocks bought. It's the 10th Northern Power Women Awards next year. Come on, get to one by us. Nicola Gleave, thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute joy, and looking forward to coming and having a rummage over in Birkenhead, quite frankly. Thank you.
Thanks, Simone.
Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review or follow us on socials. We are power_net on Insta, TikTok and Twitter. Or We Are Power on LinkedIn, Facebook. And We Are _power on YouTube.